Hello everyone, welcome to Roma Theory, another signing in our pockets, most probably because we have an advanced negotiation between us and Leeds United when it comes to Rasmus Kristensen. He's a fullback, he's played as a fullback at Leeds United, he's played as a fullback at Ajax, and Di Marzio has confirmed that we are in advanced talks to sign him and that the deal will most probably be completed next week. It's been a very busy Leeds United axis, as you can read from today's title, because obviously he's not the only player who's a Leeds United player who kind of is going to become most probably a new Roma player. We've got Diego Llorente, who is going to come back. An agreement has been found between us and the Brits to bring him back, and I would definitely say that having bought Ndika, having kind of, re-triggered that loan to get Llorente back, our centre-back defenders are almost complete. We definitely need fullbacks, and this is exactly who we've investigated in, who we are in advanced talks to sign. Danish fullback. We'll speak about him today, and then, we also have something, a story on Frattesi, because Sassuolo's general director spoke about Frattesi yesterday, and he said some relative things about us as well. So very interesting on that. But look, let's start with Kristensen. I have to be honest with you. I don't really know who he is. I'm pretty sure a lot of people here don't know who he is, unless you're a Leeds United player. Fan. Unless you're an Ajax fan, you probably don't know who the hell he is. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know much about him. Now, the first thing which I will say is that I don't know much about him, and therefore I am not in a position. I'm not in a position to say if he's going to become a top player in our team or if he's going to be yet another useless player. But another thing is that people who don't know him and yet say he's a trash player also don't make sense. Because when you don't know who a player is, you can't automatically link it to being a trash player. Because you know how the world works right now. The world works where if you get an unknown player and you don't know who this player is, because you expected a bigger name, you expected a bigger name, and then we read about Kristensen, your hopes kind of fall down, and you automatically say he's a trash player. And that, in my opinion, is morally wrong. Because if you don't know who a player is, you're also in a position to say, I don't know how he plays. I have to be honest with you, I can't say much about him. But yet these days, people who don't know much about these players automatically link them with terrible players. And that, as I just said, is morally wrong. I don't really know him, but that doesn't mean he's a trash player. That also means he's not a top player, and he could become an absolute terrible player, or he could become an absolute beast. We don't know that because we don't know who he is. Look, I think to break this down very easy, this deal is either going to be a new Llorente deal, or it's either going to be a new Chilik deal. It's going to follow one of these two paths, because if it's going to become a new Llorente signing, we're in with a great deal. Because again, came from Leeds United. I remember in January when we bought Llorente, nobody here wanted him, including me. Everybody here was going, oh, why are we buying these useless players? He turned out to be one of the most useful players in the last months. So we have a similar player here. Comes from Leeds United. People don't know much about him. He could either be a new Llorente type signing, in a sense that he plays, he's going to have his chances, and he plays really well in the chances he gets. And at the end of the season, we are seeing the owners, the fans, and the manager wanting Llorente back. Or we could have another Chilik type signing, where nobody knows who he is, he comes, he flops, and everybody wants him out. So I think it's going to be one of these two signings. One of these type of signings. Hopefully it's going to be a Llorente type signing, because if it is a Llorente type signing, we have I would say a good average player, I'm not going to call Llorente a phenomenal player, but Llorente is definitely not a terrible player. Llorente is a very useful player in the system we play. If the same thing applies to Kristensen, then at the end of the season, we will see us contact Leeds to extend the loan. And that's kind of, yeah, that's the basis of everything. When we don't know a player, it's wrong to automatically link him with being trash and being terrible, because if we don't know about him, then how can we know he's trash? One thing which I can guarantee you, even by not knowing him, one thing which I can guarantee you is that the fact that he's a Danish player, he's going to give his 110 best when playing for Roma. That is something guaranteed. Because Danish players have something in them which makes them fight until the very end. I don't know if it's Viking history or something like that, but there is something about Danish players. You look at the Danish players around, and they're always like Vikings. You look at Højbjerg, you look at Simon Kjær. There's something about Danish players and Danish players' personality which is obviously intriguing, and the fact that he's a Danish player gives me hopes. But other than that, again, I am really not in a position to talk about much about him, because, yeah, I think it's one of those signings which we have to see before commenting. However, obviously in these last hours, I have spent some time researching about him, and what I've come out with, what other people say, people who follow the Premier League, is that he's a very offensive type fullback, meaning that he provides a lot of goals and assists. And he's done so at Salzburg, he's done so at Ajax. He has those characteristics: an attacking player, offensive player, physical fullback. And if those are the characteristics he's going to bring at Roma, he's going to be a good player, just because what we were saying the last time. Because of the fact that we have difficulties in providing goals and chances to our strikers via the middle, because we lack good playmakers apart from Dybala and in some occasions Pellegrini, and it's one of the sections of this team which is going to be improved in August when we have more freedom and money. Right now, we are also improving the two fullbacks, and we're buying more offensive type fullbacks just to give more support to the attack. Because, as we've said last time, both Korzop and Celik and Spina and Zalewski have been very poor when it comes to distribution to our attackers. And if he is a player who loves goals, loves scoring, loves cutting in the box, that is kind of the fullback we need. Now, people are also probably going to ask, does this mean that we're done when it comes to signing fullbacks? I have to be honest with you. Having bought Kristensen, I think almost having bought Kristensen, definitely means that I think Korzop leaves. Definitely. I think Korzop is going to leave, and I have to be very honest with you. It's the time Korzop leaves. It's the time Korzop leaves, because over the past season, not only he's fallen out with the manager, but he's also fallen out with the ambience and the fans. And when that's the case, the player loses motivation. And when a player loses motivation, the guy doesn't really want to play anymore. So Korzop, in my opinion, had to be one of the first players to leave. And I still hope he's going to leave. And the fact that we've almost bought this player suggests to me that Korzop is going to be one of the next players to lead this team, which I'm very buzzing about. Again, we're not going to ask a lot of money for Korzop because of what happened in the past season. No stupid team would offer more than 10 million for a player who's fallen out with a manager, has publicly announced that he has suffered with depression. So there is really no belief in me which believes that a team is actually going to offer more than 10 million for Korzop. But Korzop has to leave. His time has come. Bang average player. And look, I always give this analogy about Korzop. I was at the stadium in the last game of the season after that Europa League final against Lo Spezia. As if you're probably here for a long time, following the stadium vlogs this season, you know that my seats over the past season were very close to the pitch. And every time I got into the pitch for the warm-up, the one thing which struck me about Korzop in that last game of the season, he was warming up. He was warming up, preparing for the game, with his arms crossed. He was literally passing the ball, going like this. I know it's a warm-up, but if you don't care, and you clearly don't care, because if you care about this team, you clearly don't warm up like this. You have to go. And Karsdorp has had, after Zaniolo, I would say, the most difficult attitude to handle with being a manager. Being Mourinho, I think after Zaniolo, Karsdorp has had the hardest attitude for not the team, but team and manager to kind of stick with. Karsdorp has a terrible attitude, and he's another one of those players which, realistically speaking, yes, he's fallen out with the manager. Yes, he's fallen out with the atmosphere and the fans. But realistically speaking, has he ever cared for this team? Has he ever cared? Did we ever see Karsdorp care and sacrifice himself for this badge? I've never seen that. Not even when we won Conference League. So Karsdorp is a player which, even if we hadn't almost bought Kristensen, had to leave. Again, I think, going back to the question we were there before, about is anybody else going to come on the fullbacks after Kristensen, I think it depends if we sell players. If we sell Celik or Spina, or in worst case scenarios, which I really hope doesn't happen, but Zalewski, then yes, obviously we're going to expect a new fullback. Do I expect the team to buy a new fullback added on to Celik, Kristensen, Spina and Zalewski? I'm not expecting it, but if Jose puts the pressure to improve that squad depth, maybe we can pull something. Look, ideally, my dream as a fullback is Singo, and I'm not sure if it will happen, but I really want Singo. Now, the fact that we've got Kristensen kind of doesn't give me massive hopes when it comes to Singo, but if anybody else leaves when it comes to fullbacks, I do think we're going to prepare a Singo assault. But the best possible scenario is if we can present our squad at the start of next season with Singo, Kristensen and Celik only on one side. It would be incredible in levels of squad depth. It's obviously going to be hard to believe in, but I don't know. I think, look, I have to be very honest with you. He's a player which, as I said at the start, I don't really know about, but I have to give my credits to the way our owners have moved in this transfer window over the course of June. You have to give credit. You have to give credit because let's not forget one thing. A few weeks ago, nobody here was expecting Roma to buy players until July because of FFP sanctions and because of the fact that after the 1st of July, we would have less sanctions on us because we would have presented that 30 million capital gain to UEFA, according to the settlement agreement. So let's all be honest here. 3 weeks ago, nobody would have ever expected Roma to sign 4 players just in June, when the transfer window still hasn't realistically opened. So look, the fact that we have bought 4 players in June, even after having all of those FFP sanctions and clearly stating that the priority in June was not buying players, but it was selling players, I think you gotta give credit. In the month where nobody was expecting players, we bought Ndika, we bought Awar, we bought Llorente, and we almost bought Kristensen. That's 4 players added on to the masterclass of a Tahirovic sale and a masterclass of a Kluivert sale as well. And that is June almost complete. Added on to June, because we still have 1 week to go in June, most probably we're going to get more money from the Misori deal and a few other deals, like Carles Perez, maybe Volpato and all of these deals. Look, we have bought 4 new players when we still have July and August to go through when it comes to transfer window. And they are the months stated by your general director, it's July and August, the months where we're going to spend more money. Because by July and August, we don't really have to focus on selling players as much as we have to do right now. Obviously, if the offer comes in July to sell a player, we will sell a player. But the priority in July and in August is not to sell players. It's to buy players. So, look, again, I'm liking the way we move. And some people may not like it. Some people may like it. Some people may love it. Some people may hate it. Everybody's free for their own opinions. But if somebody would have told me 3 weeks ago that we would have started the transfer window, because the transfer window in Italy starts the 1st of July. If somebody would have told me that by the 1st of July we would have bought 4 different players and sold various players, in which one of them is a masterclass selling Tahirovic for 9 million, I would have gone, what are you even talking about? Now I know in July and August we're going to buy the good players and we're going to spend more money. And that's kind of the closed parenthesis on this Kristensen deal. It might not be the player which everybody wanted, but I have to be honest with you, at least 90% of people watching this right now clearly are in the same position as me. They don't know who he is. And I would kind of, yeah, I would rather the people who say that you don't know who he is, be honest and don't know who he is, rather than just spit terrible statements saying he's trash. Because if you don't know who he is, then how do you know he's trash? And that's kind of my analogy. Are we interested in McKennie? I've read a few things about McKennie. That is one of the deals which I really hope doesn't happen. McKennie is a lazy player. McKennie is a social media player. McKennie is a bang average player, always injured, lazy player. Please no. Anyways, let's move on Frattesi, because we have a few updates on Frattesi as well which are interesting and they do involve us a bit. So, we've got some news. So when it comes to Frattesi, the Sassuolo General Director... Anyways, in fact, before we speak about Frattesi, please smash the like button in this video if you haven't already. There's quite a lot of you in the stream. If everybody in the stream can take 2 seconds to smash that like button, it would support me a lot. So if you're enjoying this transfer window right now, please click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So the Sassuolo General Director yesterday got interviewed and he said a few interesting things. Because the first thing he said is that Roma is still in the race to sign Frattesi. And the second thing which he said is that Milan, at time of speaking, are not in a race to sign Frattesi. And that's big, because Milan are definitely one of the most worrying opponents when it comes to signing Frattesi, because they've gathered so much money from that Tonali sale. They could easily get Frattesi with that money, but apparently this is coming from the Sassuolo General Director. As time of speaking, Milan are not interested in him. Milan have not approached Sassuolo for him. So what he's effectively said, Carnevali, his name is Carnevali, he said, it's a race between Roma, Inter and Juventus. It's a 3-team race. Frattesi, the day before yesterday, said, he kind of snugged the Roma offer. He kind of went, no, I don't want Roma because I've learned to work with my brain. And then we have Frattesi's agent, which 3 days ago said there is one team which has a little advantage in leading the race to sign Frattesi. So we have 3 direct sources saying 3 different things which are very linked together. Now, obviously, Frattesi saying, because he got asked, there's a high chance Scamacca joins Roma, and you and Scamacca are very good friends. Could that mean that you and Scamacca could play together at Roma? And he said, no, I've learned to work with my brain. That clearly states that he's been waiting for us over the past 2 years, and that he still wants us. Because when a player says, no, I don't know what happens, it's a way to put pressure on the Roma board to accelerate the deal. And that also confirms that he was waiting for us last season, and he still was waiting for us in the January window. And then nothing happened. The thing with Frattesi is very simple. Roma do not want to participate in going high, going low with other teams. The maximum Roma are going and are willing to offer is 30 million euros. Because we have a 30% resale clause, And we've also been linked with Sassuolo for Volpato and Missori, so that could, tie some relationships between the two sides. Problem is, Inter are most probably going to sell Brozovic, and that, yeah, they definitely have more money available than us. But the thing that the general director says is that we're in this race. It's a constant target. Now I have to be honest with you. I don't understand fans which in the past 24 hours, Roma fans which in the past 24 hours started hating on Fratesi just because he said that. The guy is absolutely right. You're a football professional player. You are not there to hang around and wait for the best offer to come. He's been waiting around for us for 2 seasons. 2 seasons. We could have ended this deal last year and we didn't end it. We could have ended this deal in January. We didn't end it. So why are fans getting mad at Fratesi, who has always put us above everything? Why? Why are we being so arrogant towards a player which is confirmed that he's always been waiting for us? Fratesi is absolutely right to stop waiting for us. He's waited for us for 2 years, where we had bigger chances of signing him than right now, and we didn't end the deals. Fratesi's not a doll. Fratesi's not like Annabelle waiting in those loopy chairs. No. Fratesi's waited for us for 2 seasons. He's got all the rights to snub us right now and go for Inter. Again, there is going to be a race to sign Fratesi, 100%. And this race is going to be a very wild race, because we obviously have teams, because none of these 3 teams really want to participate in races, going high, going low. I offer 30 million, I offer 33 million, you see, and all of that. And I don't want to participate in that as well, because it then triggers us and we spend more money than what we should do. But it's still a target. It's still a target. I do think we have prepared our options. We have prepared options if Fratesi doesn't happen. But I've said it already. If by July nothing happens on the Fratesi front, there is a high chance that Roma re-enter direct talks with Sassuolo, because we've got more freedom in the transfer window. We will have, we have more freedom to buy players. So if Fratesi hasn't signed a contract for a new team by July, I think Roma can re-enter this race easily. But obviously it then stands in financial brackets. And I'm the first one to say, if we spend more than 30 million on Fratesi, we are nutmegs. Because that should have never happened. Because we should have ended that deal last year. But it didn't happen. We will never see Thiago Pinto offer 40 million for Fratesi, and thank God we will never see Thiago Pinto offer 40 million for Fratesi. It's way too exaggerated. He's a great player, he's the player we need, but not in a million years do I want this team to offer 40 million to sign him. The maximum I would accept is 30 million, maybe 35 million, seeing that we have the 30% resale clause, and that will lower the thing. But never in a million years should we spend more than 35 million on Fratesi. Never. But yeah, look, anyways, I'm going to end it here. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, click all of the things below before ending the stream. And yeah, if you've got any questions, any opinions, any doubts, feel free to comment down in the comment section. I'll be very curious to read and respond to all of your comments. I prefer to spend that money on getting Zaha, Singo, and Morata. I kind of agree with you. I really kind of agree with you. And yeah, I will catch you soon with more transfer updates. Kristensen, Dio almost done. New updates on Fratesi as we spoke about. And Llorente, who this week is going to re-become a new Roma player for the 2nd time. And most probably the Danish lad will also become a Roma player this week. So yeah, I'll catch you very soon. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. I'll catch you soon. Simon, out.